All right, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your Monkey Minute for September 28th, 2021, as we round out the month. What a wild month it has been. And so, that said, let's hop over to our main board. We're going to be looking at Israel today, where Israeli 365 News is actually reporting that the leader of the Palestinian Authority was actually introduced at the UN as the President of Israel. While calls on the UN to unrecognize Israel took shape. And so keep your eyes on this one, because Israel is just now getting really cranked up with what's coming. And so I think between now and the time of the end, we're going to see nothing but an increase in activity over there. So that starts it off. Now, here's one of the other things I want to tell you. It's kind of interesting is that the Iraqis are now calling for peace with Israel as they join the Abraham Accords that were signed in 2020 between Israel and Bahrain and the UAE. Now, of course, Morocco and Sudan were also part of that. Now, what's interesting about all of that is that I don't know if you guys have seen this latest press release, but this is kind of an interesting thing, ties into that. The UAE's vision of interfaith harmony takes shape at the Abrahamic House of Fraternity. Now, that is a design unveiled in New York. That was during the UN Assembly that brings the mosque and the synagogues together under one world religion. And so there is the picture of that, what that's going to look like. But the interesting thing is, all of that came into play underneath this Abrahamic Accord. And if you go in and look at it, it says this is going to be the first time ever that they'll be bringing three faiths into one facility. And so just keep in mind that this is all being pushed by the Pope. Okay, he's pretty much the one that's heading a lot of this up. And so anyway, keep your eyes on that, because that is going to shape everything as we go into this whole new world order, one world government, one economic system, as well as one religious system, okay, which is going to be one world religion. We've been talking about that for a very long time. And so, okay, now let's get over to the economy, where it's interesting. Last Monkey Minute, I reported that gasoline prices had actually increased in Europe by about 235%. This year, and now it's looking like natural gas prices have soared by almost 500%. So we're starting to see this hyperinflation as supplies continue to be squeezed. So keep your eye on this, because we get into winter and people can't afford, or there's no supply to keep people warm. Things are going to get pretty dodgy, all right? And so that looks like that's what's being put out in front of us here for the winter months, which are right around the corner, okay? Now, here's one of the interesting things that kind of ties into that. Zero Hedge is actually talking more about the supply chain and the issues that we're having right now. They're saying it's gotten out of control, that supply shortages are plaguing the global economy, and they're expected to last a long time, okay? Now, we've been talking recently about the supply and the fact that we are being squeezed, and you can see it everywhere, from anything from chips for automobile making, where Ford and GM have actually announced that they're going to be slowing production, if not stopping and halting production. But it's hitting us at every level, and even here in the United States, right, where you just are seeing shelves emptied out and there's nothing there to replace it. So I certainly think more to come. Now, one of the things I talked about yesterday when I was guesting on Tom Hughes' program, Hope for Our Times, if you haven't tuned into that one, is the fact that this is right in the wheelhousing of old Klaus Schwab and his the Great Reset plan, okay? He talks about this, that supply will be tightened up. Control the supply, you control the people. And so that's their plan, and that's why we're seeing this happen. Now, this is a very interesting dynamic as you talk about supplies and the fact that we are yet to really fully recover from the Great Shutdown, okay? And so this is on Al Jazeera News. This is quite interesting because Janet Yellen was actually called in front of the Senate, and she made some comments that should get all of our spidey senses going here. They're talking about that the U.S. could default on their dollar, and which would basically, as you know, is a global reserve currency. and that if that happens, it would send a ripple effect throughout the world. And so she stated that it's imperative that Congress address the debt limit. And Yellen, basically in her prepared testimony on Tuesday, said that if not, our current estimate is that the Treasury will likely exhaust its extraordinary measures by October 18th. At that point, we expect the Treasury would be left with very limited resources that would be depleted quickly. America would default for the first time in history. The full faith and credit of the United States would be impaired, and our country would likely face a financial crisis and economic recession as a result. Now, keep in mind that they were saying that we basically, at this, when the COVID stuff was taking place, part of what they were talking about in this testimony was that, the U.S. was just starting to come back from the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression because of the whole pandemic. And so I think we can see the writing on the wall here, folks, and it is coming quickly. So we certainly need to be paying close attention to this as well, okay? All right, now let's break over to the flashbang administration with more great news. And you can see that Biden has endorsed a bill that allows abortions without limitations or requirements. He is basically trying to override the states and their ability to stop the abortion laws, which, as you know, we are on record right now, on record pace for abortions this year. It's unprecedented levels. I want to say it's around 42 million globally is where we're kind of set on pace to hit, which is insane when you really think about the amount of abortions in 1 year. That's pretty crazy. So, okay, let's break away from that. Let's get over to kind of the world environment and what's going on now. This is La Palma as it continues to open up new vents this week. They're saying that the magnitude from the volcanic tremor at La Palma has increased, and that was on September 24th, reaching its highest intensity since the eruption began on September 19th. And so they're saying that this thing's actually shooting lava bombs in all directions, more than 3,280 feet in the air, which is pretty remarkable. So we'll have to watch this one and keep our eye on it, because there is fear that if this thing does blow to the degree that they think it may, that it would send a tsunami across the Atlantic, which would impact the east coast of the United States tremendously. So we'll continue to watch this. Right now, it doesn't show any signs of actually chilling out. It's actually on the uptick. So continue to watch this. So, okay, now let's break out. In our last Monkey Minute, I talked about how there were parts of the Dead Sea were turning blood red. And so a Jordan Valley Authority has actually revealed the cause of the water near the Dead Sea and what is making that turn blood red, which is pretty interesting, because if you see these little pools here as part of the Dead Sea, what's wild about it is the fact that they say that there is manganese, which is a mineral in the water that has caused the pool to turn blood red. You can see pictures of that happening right here. Of course, that does look like blood. Pretty crazy. But there's, I think what puzzles them based on this article is the fact that none of the other pools have turned blood red. It's only this one pool. And so they think that is what is causing it in the water. Now, keep in mind, too, that manganese is actually found in the body as well. And it's a mineral that is found in the bones and other elements. And so kind of crazy. But there you have it. So we'll see what happens. But this is the kind of thing around the world where, we try to explain what is going on through science and not really recognizing that, there is definitely more to it. And so, all right. Well, hey, listen, that's going to be it for this week on our Monkey Minute. So you guys be safe out there, and we'll see you next week. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.